Wow. What a hunk of shit.
Jump in this thing and see what it'll do.
Ready to rock this, bro?
Oh, hell yeah.
What's up, everybody? So I kind of got to thinking, which led me to wanting to make a video about this, but I'm just sitting here scouring through Marketplace and just admiring on how overly priced some of this junk is becoming. And the one that's on my mind currently, which I will post pictures in this video, is this 69 RT right here. So I'll go ahead and post pictures up on here when I get this video edited. But wow, what a hunk of shit! It's sitting on a rolling cart, because you know the car is so junk. If you try and move it, it's going to rip apart. So of course the cart comes with it. You know, if you want to try and tackle this project here. Looking at this first picture here, you can obviously see the tail panel is completely gone. There's no frame rails left in this thing. You can tell by looking at it. The way the axle is buckled up into the body, the way the rear bumper is buckled in. And then the trunk lid, the whole back lip is completely rotted. And the quarters are buckled. I mean, the rockers are gone. And you can see the front of the quarter panel flapping in the wind there. Let's go to the second picture here. Oh, we got an under hood here. Under hood picture. And somehow the washer bottle is still there. That's probably like the best part of the whole car. And then right there we can see a firewall shot where the firewall cowl is completely rotted. That is just a rat door open. And yeah, nothing else looks promising. You can see, well, of course the hood hinge is gone because there's nothing left of the hood that would actually hold the hood hinge. So that's of course missing. Let's go to the next picture here. Oh, now we have the left side of this car. And wow. Same thing as the other side. Except this side looks a little bit more impressive. That's probably why it has the hubcap on it. This is the Marketplace side right here. This is the side where you take your picture. Again, there is no rocker to be seen in this picture anywhere. And I'm just going off my phone. I'll show you these guys. Or I'll show you these later. But wow, what a hunk of shit. The only thing I can see reusable in this picture is the RT emblem, which it's a striped delete car. You can tell because it has that giant emblem on the quarter panel. The taillights are probably questionable. The side marker, probably reusable. The glass, the stainless, you know that gas cap's gonna be junk because the gas cap's like that pod aluminum. And yeah, that's going to be all electrolysis rotted junk. The axle, no, not going to be usable. Leaf springs, I'm surprised there's even enough leaf springs still left in it to hold the axle in the car. Let's go to this next picture. The interior picture is actually the only promising picture of this whole damn car. It has a wood grain wheel on it, which needs to be completely restored, obviously. And it's a column shift buddy seat car, which is like the bottom of the barrel when it comes to desirability. And of course, looks like standard AM radio. And there's no front frame rail. You can I was looking at this picture and I had to zoom in on it. Yeah, so what looked like frame rail is actually the cart that it's sitting on. That's not the front frame rail. Wow, this thing is junk. So not only is the floor missing, but the entire frame rail is missing. And the other side, you can see straight through it too. I mean, it's like when you're walking on that glass floor at like Grand Canyon, you just look down and see nothing. That's this car. Wow. But the dash doesn't look all that terrible. I will give the dash that. The dash looks somewhat restorable, but you never know until you see it. My 70 RT Charger that I pulled out of Houston, Texas, well, the doors were rusted shut and I couldn't open them. But I was able to open the vent window, and I stuck my hand through the vent window and I hit the latch just to see what was in the glove box. Well, the entire passenger side of the dash frame fell to the ground because the only thing holding it up was the little hook on the latch. So this might be the same case. Oh, we have a driver's side engine bay picture here. Wow. I'm just having to take all this in for a second, but I mean, this... What garbage. I mean, you can tell right off the bat something's not right with that master cylinder. It's sitting cattywampus and like tilted towards the engine. And then you look at the firewall behind it, it's missing. Like, it's just a giant hole where the hood hinge would be is just rotted junk. The hood is junk. There's nothing to attach a hood hinge to. And then if you look at the shock tower, it's like, wow, that looks pretty close to that exhaust manifold. And then you look at it closer, there's no frame rail. The only thing left is the shock tower. There's nothing under that shock tower. The whole thing is buckled in towards the engine. Just wow. No wonder it's sitting on a cart. You ain't gonna do nothing with this car at all. Okay, they're advertising it as numbers matching car, but what are you gonna numbers match it to? There's nothing from this original body to even call it numbers matching. Okay, obviously there's no fender tag. Shocker. Now this is a beauty shot right here. We are looking at the tail panel of this car. Again, only thing usable is the stainless, probably the quarter extensions. Tail lights, questionably, like I said before, but you can tell underneath that bumper, there's no signs of frame rail anywhere. Nothing. Like, I'm surprised the rear glass hasn't just fallen into this car yet. This thing is utter junk. Oh, here's the price tag. And wouldn't you know it, $21,000 for this hunk of shit. I mean, $21,000. You're basically paying for the transmission. I can guarantee you is junk. The block may be reusable, but it's going to take a lot of machine work and cleaning to get that block functional. So out of that block, you are only going to have the block and maybe the crankshaft that is even usable. Even usable. So, and that's very questioning still. But at $21,000, oh, and no trades, 21 grand. See, I remember this car from like years ago, and it was, at that time, it was like, I think it was like 12 grand, and the guy was getting laughed at then. Well, so if you are looking for a turquoise 69 RT Charger, you are in luck. There is one on Marketplace for $21,000. Which leads me to, are we getting priced out of this car hobby? I mean, look, I got a turquoise Charger, and this car was actually in decent shape when I got it. It was 100% complete, and I paid $6 grand for it, and that was like 5 years ago, and that was a good price 5 years ago. Now, I got lucky and bought it from a guy that is now a friend, but anyways, you know, the guys that are wanting these cars and seeing these prices, I mean, it's a complete turnoff. You're like, you know what, screw it. I don't even want to be part of this hobby no more. I'm getting priced out of it. This is getting ridiculous. And these are people's dream cars. I have a little note sheet here because I was taking notes on what I should talk about, because what comes to mind isn't exactly always what I should have been thinking the whole time. It's people's dream cars from movies, TV shows, whatnot, or just seeing them on the street. Badass cars that they are, which they are badass. This one's got a Hellcat in it, so he's cheating. You know, 700 horsepower and probably 20-something miles a gallon in a 69 Super Bee. Awesome. So there's a lot of people that want to do that. Dream cars, build their dream cars, relive their old days. And what I used to tell people, I would get hit up all the time asking, hey, do you know where there's any cheap chargers at? And just being honest, if I knew where there was a cheap charger at, my ass would jump on it. Because, you know, I did used to flip these cars. You know, we're talking 5-6 years ago. but I was a terrible flipper because I would save up enough money to buy one, and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to keep this one. Well, then there went all the money from trying to buy another one. So then I'd save up enough money and buy another one, and then I would keep that one. And then there went all that money. I was a terrible car flipper because I ended up keeping the damn things. But so what I was always telling people to do was just, they would ask me, how much money does a charger cost? And I'm like, well, you know, just save your money to buy a better car. Don't buy the first thing that you find that's a cheap hunk of shit. Problem with that, the inflation nowadays is so ridiculous on all the parts and the cars that that same theory that I was thinking before, tell people to save money. Okay, say someone's got saved up 10 grand. That's just a random number, 10 grand. And, you know, they need another, let's say 10 to get a better car, a $20,000 Charger, you know, project car. Because you ain't going to get a decent car for 20 grand nowadays. Unless, you know, there are those fluke scenarios where, you know, somebody has something, they don't know what they got, or it was a family friend. So those don't count. We're just talking open market. Well, so let's say he saves his money for a couple years, gets up to 20 grand that he can spend. Well, now those $20,000 cars are not $20,000 cars no more. Now those $20,000 cars have turned into, like, say, $25,000, $28,000 cars. So the average person, like, can't save money fast enough to keep up with the freaking inflation. It's ridiculous. And the parts and the cost. I mean, this is a 70 Charger right here that I'm actually doing a video on, doing a resto on this. The part, I mean, AMD is actually pretty good. Like, their replacement metal hasn't really gone up terribly. I mean, yes, everything has gone up, but it hasn't gone up like what some stuff has. I'll show you one right now. So here is just a scenario of a part. This is a steering column bearing. This goes at the bottom of a steering column. Now, I have bought these before, and you know, we're all talking pre-COVID prices here, you know, or right at the beginning of COVID. And this stupid little thing is just a molded injection plastic, or it could even be 3D printed, and it's just a chintzy little bearing in it. You know how much this stupid part is? $99. How in the hell is this $99? Well, I was buying that pre-COVID for, I think it was like 36 bucks or 40 bucks. Now, that's gone up over 100%. I mean, for a freaking steering column bearing. Now, the eBay parts, I mean, people that have parts on eBay, the prices have just skyrocketed on there. I used to go on eBay and buy all kinds of parts on eBay that I needed for my projects, whatever, and they were reasonable. But the last couple years, hell, parts on eBay, I'm like, nah. I mean, original used parts are stupid priced now. I don't even look at eBay unless it's like for something I'm working on. But no, eBay is ridiculous. I mean, Marketplace, Classic Industries. Oh, here's a good one from Classic Industries. So again, pre-COVID, I bought one of their OER TikTok tacks, and it didn't work. So I call OER, and they send me another one. Well, that one worked for about a week, and it burned up. Like, driving down the road, smoke started filling up inside the tack. Poof, done. Now as I'm driving, I'm reaching my hand under the dash and ripping the wires off the tack. You know, because I didn't want it to smoke the rest of the dash harness. Or actually, well, it wouldn't have, because it's not really attached to it. But just, you know, first thought, you know. And, well, that one burned up. And then the next one I got that they sent me, it wouldn't even let the car start. I plug it in, car would not start. Unplug the tack wire, fired right up. It had an internal short inside the tack. They sent me another one. And they never wanted me to send any of these tacks back. They just keep sending me new ones. And when I was at SEMA show a couple years ago, I met up with OER, and I asked them about that. And he pulled me to the side and he said, look, we get those tacks made so cheap, like 25 bucks a piece, that we can afford to replace them when they go bad. So it's the quality of the parts is crap, and then they rake them up so high for maximum profits that they can afford to replace all the crap. But in the meantime, they inconvenience all of us. It's just, it's ridiculous. It pisses you off, but it's the world we live in when it comes to aftermarket parts. And the cost of the resto on these things. Well, you may see these cars as overly priced when you see somebody that's got a car and it's at a car show. Say somebody wants, you know, 100 grand for a restored 69 RT Charger. Well, if he had to pay 25 grand for a hunk of shit, he probably spent about a good $60,000 restoring it. And then, time is worth something too. So of course he's not just going to hand it over to what he has into it. So there's a reason why the prices of these cars are ridiculous, is the cost of a restoration nowadays. Now, of course, when you get into like the super rare cars, like your 71 Hemi Cudas or your Hemi Chargers, now that just gets into the rarity pricing. But we're just talking now, along with the prices being really high from guys actually restoring a car and selling them, because they have all that time and money effort into them, we now have the flipper inflated prices. Yep, these are the flippers that scour the internet. I mean, there's 24/7, and there's some big name flippers out there. I'm not going to mention them because I know a couple of these guys, but they're out there on the internet shaking bushes, knocking doors, buying the cars as many as they can, and usually as cheap as they can. I know they pay up for some of them if they personally wanted that one particular car, but then they obviously sell them for more money. And if you're an average Joe Schmo and you're looking for, say, I'm just gonna go again, 69 Charger, 70 Charger, whatever, so you're actively looking for one, well, you have a job, right? I mean, you can't just look for these cars 24/7. So when you get home, get done taking care of the family, whatever, let's just pull up Marketplace or go on eBay. Let's just see what's available. Well, by the time you turn on your computer, your phone, whatever, the flippers had already scoured the world, and the only thing you're going to see is the stuff that's already priced, or the stuff that's priced too high, or it's the stuff that the flippers have already flipped and it's back on the internet. So usually nowadays, the Joe Schmoes, the working class guys that just want their dream car, you're kind of screwed when it comes to the open market. You're at the mercy of finding it first before the flippers do, or paying the premium price of one to a flipper. So if you're looking for one, the best thing you can do is just check Marketplace, eBay, or any of these selling sites. Just check them randomly, numerous times a day, because if you don't, there's guys that make a living scouring the interwebs and finding these cars before you do, and then they just resell them to guys like you. All right, now we get to the piece of crap scammy sellers, the guys that advertise a car on what it really isn't. Okay, I just sold some parts to a guy in Arizona, super nice guy. Him and his family came out here and they're Mopar nuts, and he needed parts for a Charger he bought. He bought it off Marketplace, or no, OfferUp or something like that, a couple years ago, back when there used to be stuff on OfferUp. And he shows me pictures of this car, and he says he bought this car from some guy named Armando, and which sounded familiar. There's several names that you'll come across all the time that are just constantly flipping cars, and they're the flipper guys. They are. And as soon as I see their name, I just turn it off. I'm not interested, because either it's overpriced or it's oversold, which means the car is not what they're saying it is. And this guy, I felt bad for him. He asked for a ton of pictures of this car, and of course the guy sent him a ton of pictures, just a 68 Charger shell. Well, the car shows up at transport, and it was a completely burned up car that somebody had either blasted or sanded and sprayed with primer over it, so you couldn't tell it was a burned up car. I mean, the roof skin was warped, the quarters are warped, and stuff was melted into the doors. I mean, he did tell him, oh, we had a small fire under the hood. Yeah, bullshit. The entire car was burned up. So now this guy needed to buy all new metal and replacement parts to replace what was melted, broken, or junked. Even the dash frame was warped. The dash frame, the roof skin, I mean, the trunk, everything on this car was warped. And the problem with fire cars, then the metal becomes softer. You know, once the metal is heated up and then cooled slowly, that metal becomes softer and it gets like all springy and just, yeah, it's not good. But the guy will be able to reinforce the body and replace the quarters with new metal and new roof skin. So he's replacing a bunch of metal. But anyway, the reason behind that story is the seller was a piece of shit. Armando, you're a piece of shit. You knew this car was completely burned up, and you primered it and sold it to this guy, and took his money. So there's those things there. I mean, in the pictures, the car didn't look bad. It was all primered. You're like, oh, someone started body work, this and that, blah blah blah. Well, it was primered because they were hiding that it was a burned up car. So you got to watch out for that, you know. And so between all the scammers, the flippers, the overpriced parts, just the cost of these cars and the cost of living nowadays, everything is inflated. You know, where is the hobby going? I know a lot of guys that just gave up. They can't afford to be car guys anymore. Hell, I'm getting priced out of being a damn car guy. You may think I'm rich because I have race cars and I have Chargers, but what you don't realize is I traded a 70 Charger for this. Who in their right mind trades a 70 RT Charger for a freaking dirt track car that's worth nothing when you're done with it? I did. I wanted to go racing. You know, I have Patina over there, but you know, I bought that car back when it was you know, reasonable, 6 years ago. Smurf, my tunnel ram Charger. Here, I'll show you. See, I'm getting over a cold, so if you notice my voice is different or the coughing. So yeah, Smurf, my tunnel ram Charger right there. I drive that car all the time. 600 horsepower, blah blah blah. It's a great it's a 69 RT, power window, cruise control, tack, console, B5 blue, white top, white stripe, blue interior. Of course, doesn't look like that right now. I'm gonna paint that car, but I'll get to it. Anyways, 5 years ago, I flew to Minnesota. I paid $25,000 for that car and drove it home. This General Lee right here, paid $24,000 for this car and drove it home from North Dakota. You know, Minty, I paid $1,300 for Minty and drove it home from North Dakota. So, of course, I've got a lot more money in those cars since then. Same thing with that. But that was when you could still do that kind of thing. Now, 25 grand doesn't... So you saw that turquoise RT for $21,000, and it was a total rotted hunk of shit. That car will never, ever in a million years sell for $21,000. You're basically buying a VIN tag, a dash frame, a steering wheel, some plastics, some glass, some stainless, and maybe a block. That's it. Oh, and a grill and some taillights. You're buying a pile of parts that are still attached to what's left of a Swiss cheese Charger. But where I'm getting with that is $25,000 doesn't buy you a whole lot of Charger nowadays. Definitely not going to be able to drive one home on the open market. Yes, there's, you know, like I said before, there's those deals, you know, the backdoor deals, the friends of the family deals. Those happen. But when you're actively looking for a car on the open market, the average price, you know, you're not going to drive one home for 25 grand. So are you doing it for the money or do you do it for the love? I mean, I love Chargers. I love these cars. I love Super Bs, Coronets, Challengers, Cudas. I mean, Chevelles. I love all muscle cars. I'm not like Mopar, no car. I love all muscle cars. But you know, again, where's the hobby going if guys are getting priced out of it? they are becoming trophy pieces. You know, they're becoming the rich guy trophy pieces. This sits on a air-conditioned shop on a linoleum floor. It doesn't go nowhere, but they like to brag about it, take pictures, or it's become a rich guy thing at Barrett Jackson and Mecum, where, oh, look how I paid twice. You know, when I see Barrett Jackson and all these places, I'm like, wow, everybody in the audience is cheering for this moron that paid twice the money for a car he could have just bought off Marketplace. It's all about just throwing money around. It's a rich guy's, you know, it's trophies. Oh, look what I could buy. I could afford that. You know, and so as car guys, you're not seeing as many cars at car shows. They've turned into trophy pieces. You know, people put these cars up on mantles. You know, you just walked around a little bit of my property. Did you see any new vehicles? No. I drive these sons of bitches. I mean, I drive all my cars. They're my dailies. I don't have no... I'm living the classic car life. You know, a lot of these guys, they'll buy these cars as trophy pieces. They'll put them in trailers. They won't go anywhere unless they're in a trailer. No, an enclosed trailer. You know, so it's just trophies to some of these people. And I'm, you know, and not to make it sound totally bad on all rich guys, you know, there's a lot of rich guys that love building these cars. And you know, they have a ton of money in restoring them, and so of course they don't want to see them get ruined on the street, or you know, they don't want to put them on an open trailer, because you know, stuff can happen on an open trailer. You know, it's just, where do you guys think the car hobby is going to go? I think it's going to be here forever. I mean, all this EV hype is bullshit. I mean, EVs only work in city people life. It's like, I live in Las Vegas, so you can get away with driving an EV during the day. Am I going to? No, I don't like looking like a sissy. But so, yep, there's your rich guys that love restoring and building these things, and then there's your rich guys that basically just use them as trading cards. It's rich man trading cards, and they have garages that are set up to where they just with lifts and cars everywhere, and cars that you don't know what happened to. Like, there's a lot of cars that were built and they would drive around and go to shows and go to racetracks, you know, for do like autocrossing and or even road course events. You know, you get to think, I was like, well, what happened to those cars? What happened to like Petty built a pretty badass Superbird that they for road racing and whatnot, but then the car disappeared. Well, what happened to it is a rich man bought it, threw it in his shop as a trophy piece, and then it never gets used ever again. It's a trophy. So, which means they don't ever take it anywhere, and the car attendance at car shows plummets. Now, in Las Vegas, we have what's called MATs. It's muscle cars at the strip. It used to be called Mopars at the strip. But the problem was the car show attendance for just the Mopars only got so bad and so poor that the promoter, if he wanted to be able to keep doing this event, had to open it up to GM and Ford. And, well, all that did was piss off the Mopar guys. And so half of them said, screw it, I'm staying home. I'm not going no more, because you opened it up to Chevy and Ford. And the other half, you know, they still come because it's something to do. But you can't please everyone. It was either lose the show entirely or open it up to GM and Ford, because the Mopar guys on their own couldn't keep the show going anymore. So, you know, now that my notes is over and I just kind of rummaged through them real quick, I got to get back to work. Got to start slinging some metal on this thing. Got to yell at some Derek some more. Damn it, Derek. But it was just the thoughts I had on seeing these overpriced cars, and just the guys that always wanted these dream cars, and now they've almost become unobtainable. So the 68 to 70 Chargers that are becoming this unobtainable car, that now the third gen Chargers are becoming worth money, because now people are buying those. Well, what happens to when the third gen Chargers become unobtainable? Are people going to start buying fourth gen Chargers? No. Nobody wants a Monte Carlo with a Dodge body kit on it. Anyways, I will holler at you guys later. I got to get back to work. The those are just the thoughts that were running through my head today, and thought I would share them with you guys and show you some hunk of shit 6.9 RT Charger that somebody thinks they're going to get $21,000 for.